welcome to tonight's fake news. Funny, authoritative, knee-deep, and of course, entertaining. New Zealand, which led the world in COVID-19 elimination, reached what its government calls Level 1 status this week. There are now no distancing or travel restrictions internally, which is great news for those keen to get away from it all and enjoy the country's gorgeous scenery. However, the country faces a new pandemic, cliche 19. An epidemiologist who's caught the new disease said, the enemy was at the gate and coming down the mountain was tougher than climbing it. Now, at level 1, it's pretty much open slather. It is guerrilla warfare. Well, sounds like a terminal case, but in response, Jacinda Ardern's government quoted Sir Edmund Hillary, saying it hoped to knock the bastard off, though it's unclear if she meant the disease or the epidemiologist. I know which one I'd be aiming for. And while we're in New Zealand, here's a fascinating headline from local rag, the Marlborough Express. This is from a week ago, so presumably they're even taller now. If you've been growing either upwards or, more likely, in lockdown sideways, then don't be afraid to ask for help and call a helpline, such as 0800 LARDAS. Here in the UK, coronavirus restrictions are soon set to ease further with the reopening of zoos and wildlife parks. One particular animal was absolutely delighted to receive the news from a park ranger. Another was looking forward to getting rid of its face mask. While in the flamingo pond, the news of the reopening was just too much for one bird to take. Still with coronavirus news, earlier in the week the UK government announced that pubs with beer gardens will soon be able to open on a limited basis. Some of those pubs, in order to accommodate social distancing, have arranged to use neighbouring properties so that more customers can enjoy their drinks away from others. But one pub without a beer garden in Liverpool has come up with a novel idea to get customers back drinking indoors in perfect safety. We cross now to our beer correspondent, Sean Cooper, ABV.
I'm enjoying a drink in one of Liverpool's most famous pubs, the Philharmonic on Hope Street. The management here have decided on a new plan with regard to social distancing, where customers are limited to one person per room at any one time.
That doesn't sound very convivial.
No, it's fine. My colleague Ted is in the next room and we're able to communicate and have a chat using text. It's no problem at all. And ordering drinks is very easy. We just use WhatsApp. You leave your money on the table by the door. A few minutes later your order's delivered and change is given.
But how can the pub be making any money with only 2 or 3 customers?
Well, that's the downside. The rooms in this pub are normally very full. So as not to lose money, the price of the beer has increased slightly.
Yeah, increased by how much though?
This pint cost me £200.
£200 for draft beers? Surely you can't afford that.
No, at this price it's Overdraft beers. This is Sean Cooper, ABV, in Liverpool. Cheers.
Overdraft beers. Thanks, Sean Cooper, ABV, reporting. And finally tonight, a boatload of migrants was intercepted in the English Channel in the early hours of this morning. When interviewed by Coast Guard Rescue, one of those on board pleaded that they be allowed to continue their desperate journey, saying that they just couldn't face any more oppression, government tyranny or restrictions. The Coast Guard took pity and decided to let them go, and the migrants, mainly from Essex, should be arriving in France about now. Well, that's it for this week's headlines. Thanks very much for joining me. Join me again next week for all the news as it never happened. Good night. Epidemiologist uses more cliches than you can poke a stick at.